Good evening, I'm Stephanie Seacos. It's Thursday, August 13th. This is CTV News at 6. Tonight, case closed. A St. John man who murdered his two sons has been handed a pair of life sentences. Then, encampment concerns. A second shooting at a Dartmouth site is raising new questions over public safety.
Showers with the risk of thunderstorms for eastern parts of the region tomorrow. Sunshine ahead for the weekend.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Stephanie Seacos.
Thanks for joining us. Todd Battis is off tonight. A 46-year-old man has been handed a pair of life sentences for stabbing his own sons to death last year in their St. John home. The Crown says the murders come as an act of vengeance against his ex-wife. CTV's Avery McCrae is standing by at the St. John courthouse with more on today's proceedings. Avery.
Stephanie, in his final remarks to the court, Roman Commissioner reiterated he did not plan to kill his sons, nor does he remember stabbing them both to death in their North End apartment 18 months ago. His expression was minimal, as Justice Darrell Stevenson told him he'd be serving a pair of life sentences concurrently for 2 counts of first-degree murder with no chance of parole for 25 years. On January 29, 2025, the 46-year-old stabbed his sons, aged 17 and 10 years old, to death in a North End apartment before attempting to take his own life with a nail gun to the head. A publication ban prevents the media from naming the boys. A 2-week trial in June laid out the details of the murders that the Crown argued were an act of vengeance against his ex-wife, who was referred to as Witness A to protect her identity. A 12-member jury found Commissioner guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Just one victim impact statement was read aloud in court by former mayor and current lawyer Mel Norton. He told the court the murders impacted the entire community, saying, quote, "These events confronted young people with the reality they should not have been required to face, that children of their own age could lose their lives, and that an adult could be responsible for such a loss. That knowledge changes a school community." The sentiments were echoed in other impact statements not read in court, including some from police officers, family members of Witness A, and a school guidance counselor of one of the victims. Commissioner was also given the chance to offer final thoughts, in which he blamed his ex-wife before being cut off by Justice Darrell Stevenson. While Witness A was not present in the courtroom for the sentencing, a statement read by Norton, who was also her lawyer, detailed how her life is forever changed by the loss of her sons.
They were joyful, deeply loved, and full of promise. They had their own personalities, friendships, dreams, and futures. My hope is that as this case moves beyond the courtroom, they will be remembered not for how they died, but for how they lived, and for the love they brought to everyone who knew them.
The statement went on to say how the children were the greatest joy of her life, whose love will remain with her every day. We asked both the Crown and the defense for their thoughts following today's proceedings, but both declined to comment. When defense lawyer Shauna Wicks was asked specifically about the possibility of an appeal, she again offered no comment. Stephanie?
Thanks, Avery. CTV's Avery McCrae reporting in St. John. A second shooting at a Dartmouth tent encampment is raising new questions about public safety and whether the government is doing enough to help the homeless find more safe and secure housing. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
PJ McKay said she was helping clean out a friend's tent who had moved out of this Dartmouth tent encampment when she heard a loud bang.
You hear a gunshot, you lay low, don't show your face, because if you're a witness, you could be getting the next bullet.
Halifax police were called to the Green Road Park encampment in Dartmouth around 2:30 yesterday afternoon. When they arrived, they found a 33-year-old man who was shot. He was taken by ambulance to hospital in serious condition. There's been no updates today, and police aren't saying much except the shooting doesn't appear to be random and no arrests have been made. For McKay, this is the second shooting she's witnessed in the encampment. Back in February, there was a shooting at the same encampment that also sent a man to hospital.
I doubt it will be the last time. Unless we get our housing we need.
McKay isn't frightened for her own safety, but the violence is a public safety concern at a site that was never meant to be a permanent home.
Unfortunately, we have violence in our community, both in homeless encampments and outside of homeless encampments. So I think it's important not to, kind of stereotype an entire population for the actions of a few.
There are now just 2 municipally sanctioned tent encampments left in the Halifax area. This one and another one on Barrington Street. Green Road Park is sanctioned for 8 tents. There are 19 and 3 trailers. The municipality, it appears, has no control over who enters or leaves.
Sometimes when you're in the midst of a crisis, you need a Band-Aid, and this was very much a Band-Aid, not a solution.
Encampments are just not safe spaces. They never were safe spaces.
Jeff Carabinow is a Dalhousie professor of social work who researches homelessness and says tent encampments are unsafe and those living in them are particularly vulnerable to violence, and says government needs to provide better intervention supports.
I think we all know what the correct trajectory would be, right? And that is some form of supportive and or social housing that's affordable, that's safe, that's cared for. They're being built, but it's taken much longer than anybody ever anticipated.
Halifax's Commissioner of Public Safety, Bill Moore, declined an interview request with CTV News, citing the ongoing police investigation. Steph.
Thanks, Jesse. CTV's Jesse Thomas reporting in Dartmouth. On our website tonight, the remains of a man have been found in a wooded area near Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and RCMP believe foul play was a factor in his death. You can read more about that on our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Police continue to investigate the theft of a bronze maple leaf from the RCMP monument in Moncton. People visiting the memorial today were outraged and disappointed someone would take it in the first place. CTV's Derek Haggett with the latest.
Police were back at the RCMP monument in Moncton today as the search for a stolen maple leaf continues. One of the 12 maple leaves that circle the monument was discovered missing yesterday.
Well, it's kind of stunning, really. It's, it's such an act of disrespect, but I'm sure the person who took it didn't give that any consideration.
It's really tragic and it's upsetting. It's disgusting that it was vandalized because the monument's really important to the families and for the community of Moncton.
Constables Douglas Larch, Dave Ross, and Fabrice Javadin were shot and killed by a gunman in a northwest Moncton neighborhood on June 4th, 2014. The memorial honors their sacrifice.
Well, I'm disgusted, really. I'm an ex-member, and I attended the parade when these fellows passed away, so it's just heartbreaking somebody would do something like that.
The union that represents the RCMP are also outraged.
Well, I'd have to say on behalf of, the National Police Federation and the 20 or so thousand RCMP members we represent, we're just absolutely saddened and appalled.
Nadine Larch was visiting the statue of her late husband, Constable Doug Larch, yesterday when she noticed a leaf was missing. She says each one comes from a different group, municipality, or family.
Our family has one, the Javadin family has one, the Ross family has one. I mean, we all put our thumbprints in the base of the monument on the leaves to kind of leave our prints there for forever.
The RCMP says there's nothing new to report right now, but they're asking anyone with information to come forward. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
There's a live look at downtown Antigonish, where it is currently 20 degrees. Let's get our first look at the weather forecast, and for that we go to CTV meteorologist Kaylin Michelin. You've been tracking some thunderstorms this afternoon and into the evening.
Yeah, and still am. So Antigonish there, we didn't see a lot of action as far as the weather goes, but that's kind of been the nature of these thunderstorms. They are sort of hit and miss, and Antigonish right now hasn't seen much, but New Glasgow certainly has, with some downpours and some thunderstorms moving through. And there is still a chance over the next couple of hours of a shower or thunderstorm for Antigonish, which is included underneath a severe thunderstorm watch that extends across the east of Nova Scotia and into much of Cape Breton. We also have a severe thunderstorm watch for the southeast of New Brunswick and for Prince County and Prince Edward Island, and then across some of the northern counties in New Brunswick. So this thunderstorm activity, as you can probably tell by where the watches are issued, is scattered across the region. But let's take a closer look at it. We'll head over and take a look at our radar picture. And there you can see the areas of some showers and some thunderstorms moving through. Now, there's a big block of showers right now just making its way across the east of Nova Scotia. There's some downpours within that and a few thunderstorms that's going to continue to move across Cape Breton, eastern parts of the region over the next few hours. And then the activity further back into New Brunswick as well as around eastern parts of Prince Edward Island. It's more scattered thunderstorm cells, but it is bringing in lightning and some brief downpours for these areas. They're moving fairly quickly, so the downpours aren't remaining over any given location for a prolonged period of time. That does reduce the risk of things such as localized flooding. However, it could still create some hydroplaning conditions on the roads with the higher rainfall rates. We've got a couple thunderstorm cells here just making their way towards parts of Prince Edward Island. So you would want to be watching for these over the next hour two for Wellington and Summerside, maybe even Borden, Carleton, and then back into Nova Scotia. Some signs here on radar that some of the heavier downpours that set up through interior parts of the province are beginning to weaken a little bit, and that entire area of showers and the few downpours and thunderstorms, as I just mentioned, is shifting eastward. So this is expected to be an improving weather situation moving through this evening. I'll have an update on it, though, and then, of course, what's coming up for Friday and the weekend when I'm back later on. Stephanie.
Thanks, Kalen. We'll see you in about 15 minutes for that forecast. Nova Scotia's Premier wrapped up his State of the Province tour today in Cape Breton, where the elephant in the room was the threat of U.S. tariffs potentially coming as soon as next week. And fresh off a recent visit to the United States, Tim Houston was doubling down today about how he plans to respond. Here's CTV's Ryan McDonald.
Tim Houston's State of the Province tour brought him to Sydney today, where he wasted little time talking about Donald Trump.
The Trump administration has certainly thrown global trade into chaos, but I refuse to let Nova Scotians pay the price for Washington's politics.
Fresh off a recent visit south of the border, Houston told those gathered that he has taken action to defend the province's industries against expected tariffs starting August 19th. He says Nova Scotia will not be bullied.
It's a big cliff that we're approaching.
The 50% tariffs would include Canadian wine, dairy products, and hockey sticks.
We're holding the line on the measures we've taken around alcohol and some of the other procurement stuff too, but we're placing faith in those that are at the table negotiating.
Tim Houston sees a political opportunity to be Captain Canada.
Political scientist Tom Urbaniak expects Houston to continue to take a stand against the Trump administration and says that would be a good political move given what he calls a sag in the Premier's popularity since the last budget.
And if some provinces disagree with Canadian concessions, Nova Scotia will be one of them.
As for whether he sees this as rhetoric or real action, Urbaniak says the American threat has been convenient for Houston.
Not only to pursue a rhetorical agenda of wanting to stand up for Canada, but to pursue other economic and industrial priorities that he has, even if in some cases those involve American companies.
The provincial tour wrapped up with a funding announcement at a biomanufacturing company. Houston said the impact of tariff threats goes beyond the tangible.
Like, Canadians are very upset with the way they've been treated by the president, the things the president has said, and that has a lingering emotional impact that we're going to have to deal with in the fullness of time too. But the economic impact is real.
Urbaniak adds he will be watching when the legislature resumes September 8th. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Sydney.
An update now on a story we told you about last week about a community center in southern New Brunswick that closed its doors suddenly. The Nutrien Civic Center in Sussex will reopen its doors tomorrow. Last week, the staff and public were informed the facility would have to close due to funding shortfalls and an inability to make payroll. The executive director tells CTV News the community needs the center, and the board has work to do to make it more self-sustaining. The center has been closed since Saturday. A woman has been ticketed for allegedly failing to stop for a crossing guard in a Moncton crosswalk. It happened back in April. The RCMP launched an investigation after a video circulating online appeared to show a vehicle driving through the crosswalk while the crossing guard was holding a stop sign and assisting pedestrians. Kodiak Regional RCMP said today it concluded its investigation and identified the driver. The 36-year-old Moncton woman has been issued a ticket under the Motor Vehicle Act for failing to stop for a school crossing guard displaying a stop sign. Chester Race Week is officially underway. The largest keelboat regatta in Canada continues to attract competitors from around North America. CTV's Brianne Foley hit the water to get an up-close look at this historic race.
Chester Race Week continues to captivate both on and off the water.
This event has a legacy of 150 years and rooted in our history of boat building and being on the ocean and sailing. This is the birthplace of it all in very many ways.
For those who have been a part of the sport for years, the event means more than just the racing.
I was chair of the event. I guess we call it on-water chair because other people do a lot of land events, which I try and avoid at all costs. I retired from doing it in 2024. After 2024, in 2025, I was a race officer. Very much about the competition and the dynamic nature of the conditions and why people love racing in this event, but it's also kind of the ancillary benefits, all the businesses that are benefiting from this and seeing this volume of people come through.
A sport that is growing for everyone.
But certainly women in the sport is growing. We want women to see themselves as skippers in leadership roles. That all translates across, from beyond the boat into a business setting, the boardroom.
Which can be seen through the number of participants.
I really love to see the Blue Nose class. I think it's 32 boats on the line, to see them all in sequence, taking off together, and you see multi-generational teams of families, you see all women crews. You have a 40-foot boat, has 12 people on board. Now the Blue Nose usually have, the little Blue Noses, they have 3 crew members per boat. So I think we average it out at about 7.
Over the 4 days, Chester Race Week 2026 sees 137 entries, over 1,300 participants from Bermuda, Canada, and the United States. Brianne Foley, CTV News, Chester.
New Brunswick's minimum wage is under the microscope, and the public is being asked for its 2 cents. As CTV's Nick Moore reports, the cost of basic necessities will be part of the province's review.
For the first time in a decade, the New Brunswick government is asking for public feedback on the province's minimum wage.
We'd like to hear from employers, employees, anybody that's impacted.
Labor Minister Alison Townsend says the province wants to know what impact the minimum wage is having on the economy and if a person working full-time at minimum wage can afford basic necessities.
And after that, we'll take all of those things and try to measure and balance all of the different positions to come up with a potentially new minimum wage, maybe not.
At the moment, New Brunswick's minimum wage is tied to the Consumer Price Index and is updated in April. Right now, the current minimum wage is $15.90 per hour, the lowest in Atlantic Canada. Newfoundland and Labrador's hourly minimum wage is $16.35 per hour. Nova Scotia is $16.75 per hour. Prince Edward Island comes in at $17 per hour. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says it will try to convey a picture to the provincial government that raising the minimum wage has a cascading effect.
Everybody not making minimum wage at a company will be asking for an increase in their income. So over time, it just increased the overall labor costs because it just kind of moves the bar.
The St. John-based Human Development Council's most recent study on living wages found that full-time working parents with 2 kids in New Brunswick need to make at least $24.70 per hour each in order to make ends meet.
I don't think it's reasonable to expect somebody to work full-time and to live in poverty and to not have their basic needs met. If you crunch the numbers and you look at full-time work at that rate, I think that that's inadequate for safe and affordable accommodation, for nutritious food, for energy costs.
The New Brunswick government says it will consult with employers, workers, and organizations until October 9th, and that public feedback will also be collected online and through a toll-free number. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
Still to come, a few showers in the region tonight. Kalen returns with his full forecast. And also ahead, more trouble for social media giant TikTok. And later, we have this story.
After 44 drawings, someone in Illinois has won the $1 billion Powerball jackpot. I'm Rena Roy, and I'll have more coming up.
This is the Campfire Conditions Report, brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. In New Brunswick, you are allowed to have a campfire, except if you are in Queens and Kent counties, those two counties, you're allowed to have a campfire, but only between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. For the province of Nova Scotia, campfires are allowed for most of the province between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. There is one exception. In Shelburne County, campfires are currently allowed between 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. And for Prince Edward Island, campfires are allowed, but for Prince and Queens counties, domestic brush burning is limited to the hours of 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. In Kings County, domestic brush burning is allowed between 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. The next update to those provincial restrictions will be at 2 p.m. on August 14th.
Welcome back. More trouble tonight for TikTok. The state of Pennsylvania is suing the company, saying the social media giant is exposing children to mature content and using addictive features to keep children online. NBC's Lauren Make explains.
The infinite scrolling on TikTok is now part of a lawsuit by the Pennsylvania Attorney General, accusing the platform of being designed to be addictive to young people.
They want users, including children, to crave the app. They want users to endlessly scroll while they rake in astronomical ad revenue. I'm standing here today to say that enough is enough, and my office is taking action with this lawsuit.
In Harrisburg today, Pennsylvania Attorney General Dave Sunday announcing legal action against TikTok, citing, among other things, how it handles its age rating, saying TikTok purposefully misrepresents itself to get a rating for those age 13 and up.
The age restrictions that TikTok purports to maintain are essentially worthless.
Along Kelly Drive, we caught up with Nick and Alex Avajalou. What are the rules in your house?
The rules in the house are we need to know any social media site that he's on, and happily he doesn't seem to want to do it too badly, and so mostly just YouTube, things like that.
Alex is 12, just on the cusp of being old enough for the 13 and up apps.
When he turns 13, will he be allowed on TikTok?
That's a great question. Probably with some close monitoring, is what I would say. But realistically, probably.
The Pennsylvania lawsuit comes as other states are also taking aim at social media companies using a similar legal approach.
For a long time, there were all of these suits about, my child or I saw something upsetting and terrible on social media. And those are pretty much uniformly legal theories that were not successful.
Peter Ormerod is a professor at Villanova's law school.
So this newer brand of suit is focusing instead on what it is the platform specifically has done.
He says these kinds of lawsuits have been more successful than others.
Now, whether it will ultimately result in a great deal of accountability for these platforms is anyone's guess. I mean, that's the kind of thing that is going to be resolved in courthouses across the country, as well as probably ultimately by the Supreme Court at some point.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
There's a new instant billionaire in the U.S. tonight. The 8th largest jackpot in Powerball history has been won. Officials say a single winning ticket was sold in Illinois. ABC's Rena Roy has those details.
The 8th largest jackpot in Powerball history has been won in Illinois. A single ticket sold at this Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh in the city of Quincy matched all 6 numbers drawn Wednesday night to win the $1 billion jackpot.
That is earth-changing. I'm happy to be a part of their lives and changing their lives.
Gas station manager John Marshall speaking with ABC News after the historic win.
Our Hy-Vee corporate motto is making lives easier, healthier, and happier. So, I mean, you can't get any better than that, making your lives easier, happier, and healthier than winning $1 billion.
Marshall says even though he didn't win, he's just happy to play a part in it all.
I just feel like our gas station won the lottery because, we got a lot of media and a lot of customers coming in excited and wanting to know who it is.
Now, if the winner does not want to wait 30 years to collect all of the $1 billion in a recurring payment option, they can take the cash option of $450 million before taxes. They must claim the prize by October 11th if they take the lump sum. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Still to come, after a chance of showers, Friday, a sunny weekend ahead. Kaylin will return with those details next. Welcome back. Time now for a look at the forecast. Certainly not as hot this evening, and I know with the with the showers coming in, I'm sure a lot of people are very happy to see this. Maybe not so happy for the thunder part of it, though.
But the rain, that's always a good thing as we're making our way through August here. It's good for the gardens, the lawns, the river systems in the Maritime region, those on wells as well. Though again, this wasn't a blanket rainfall across the Maritimes. It was sort of that summery type of precipitation that we are used to in the form of some sort of broken areas of some showers and a few locations getting some downpours and thunderstorms. And I already have a couple localized reports that in some cases those downpours have brought in some rainfall amounts in excess of 10 millimeters. Let's take a look at though what changed for today, where we started off sunny and then got sort of unsettled as we went through the day, and how the system is going to linger for tomorrow. So it's a trough of low pressure that's moved in, that's added a little bit of lift to the atmosphere, helps to get those showers and thunderstorms to develop, and at the same time above us a little bit of cooler air moved in aloft, and that really helps as we get into our daytime heating about increasing the strength of those updrafts that start during the day and pushing them up high enough into the atmosphere to again turn some of those showers over to thunderstorm activity. Now the center of this low pressure system is moving a little bit further towards the northeast of the Maritimes for tomorrow. This is the setup for Friday afternoon, but the trough still lingers back through eastern parts of the region around areas of Cape Breton, the north and east of mainland Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and potentially some parts of the east of New Brunswick. That's where there will be the most lift in the atmosphere tomorrow and the most instability, which will give us our higher chances of seeing some showers or thunderstorms. Now moving from Friday into the start of the weekend on Saturday, we see a shift in that entire pattern as an area of high pressure begins to work its way in from the west. That's going to be bringing us subsidence. That's a downward forcing on the atmosphere, and as a result, clearer conditions, which is why we're going from sort of showers and thunderstorms at the end of this week to a very sunny start to the upcoming weekend. Let's take a look at the details, though. So first of all, for what's left of the showers and thunderstorms around the Maritimes this evening, the thunderstorms are expected to be coming to an end as we make our way through the evening hours. But showers will linger for parts of the Maritimes as we head into the overnight. They'll be very spotty in their coverage, but they could be around north and eastern areas, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and the east of Nova Scotia. Start of the day for tomorrow around the Maritimes, the highest chance of a morning shower will be in the northeast of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and in Cape Breton. But remember, that trough of low pressure is hanging back, so as we make our way into the afternoon and we get some daytime heating in the mix, some further scattered showers are expected for eastern parts of the Maritime region, and it's within those showers that once again there will be a risk of some thunderstorms, and lightning and downpours like they were today will be the most likely hazards with them. Now as we move into Friday evening and Friday night, those showers and thunderstorms will be coming to an end, clearing conditions into the overnight, and then that sunny start to the weekend. So here's just a recap of where the chance of showers and thunderstorms is highest for tomorrow. It's eastern areas, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and the north and east of Nova Scotia. Winds change direction and behind this trough of low pressure as well. They'll be out of the northwest for Friday. They'll be breezy. They'll have some gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour, but it's also bringing in less humid air off the continent. So humidity is really not expected to be an issue moving through the weekend. It does rise a little bit for Monday of next week, but that's because we're expecting some further showers on that day. Temperatures for tonight, pretty comfortable around the Maritimes. Most of the lows will be in the range of around 12 to 16 degrees. Here's a look at your highs for tomorrow for communities in the north of New Brunswick. They'll be in the low 20s, and for central and southern parts of the province, the high temperatures will be mostly in the low 20s as well. Those mid-20s possible in the southwest, including around St. Stephen, Campbell and Grand Manan. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures closer to 19, 20 degrees because of the increased cloudiness and the higher chance of a shower, risk of a thunderstorm along with it. And same thing goes for eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Most of the high temperatures between 19 and 21. Now, for northern and central areas of Nova Scotia, the chance of a shower, risk of a thunderstorm, it's not zero, but it is lower compared to areas further towards the east. Maybe looking at 30% chance or so. And then to the west and southwest of Nova Scotia, here it's basically expected to be a mix of sun and cloud on Friday, and the high temperatures mostly between 21 and 24. Taking a look at the extended forecast and looking ahead to the weekend for New Brunswick, there's that sunshine for the start of the weekend. Saturday looks like a very pleasant day, high temperatures into the mid-20s. temperatures, low humidity, a mix of sun and cloud for Sunday, and there's showers in the forecast for Monday. That's followed by a mix of sun and cloud for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, and a chance of showers on Thursday. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, coming up on Saturday, a mostly sunny day, high temperatures low to mid-20s. Same thing goes for Sunday with a mix of sun and cloud. Showers in the forecast for Monday, and a chance that some of those showers could linger on into early Tuesday morning before they clear away. Then it's followed by a mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday and Thursday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island in the forecast, sunshine for Saturday, then a mix of sun and cloud for Sunday. After that, it's showers to start next week, but that's followed by a mix of sun and cloud for Tuesday and Wednesday, and a chance of showers on Thursday. Stephanie.
Thanks, Kaylin. We'll check in with you later for the wake-up weather. And still ahead, we'll also hear from Steve Murphy on lessons we can learn from politicians from the past. But up next, we'll talk about the next round of tariffs from the Trump administration. Stay with us.
Okay, so coming up on the show tomorrow, another chance to win a $100 gift card to Shoppers Drug Mart.
As well, join us for your chance to win your way into Beer Fest.
Plus, that comes with a hotel stay. Good luck.
We're just under a week away from a new round of tariffs from the Trump administration. As the date approaches, Canada's lead trade negotiator has warned their U.S. counterparts that more tariffs could halt trade talks. To help us break this down, CTV News political analyst Eric Ham joins us now from Atlanta, Georgia. Thanks for speaking with us, Eric.
It's good to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
So quite a warning to U.S. trade representatives who met with their Canadian counterparts today. How would something like that go down in a Trump White House?
Well, what we're seeing right now is the deadline is fast approaching. And also, there's a lot of bad blood on actually both sides. We know about this petition as calling for the removal of the ambassador to Canada, Pete Huckstra, who, of course, has had some very caustic things to say. And I think that is certainly going to impact these negotiations. We know President Donald Trump certainly has no love lost for Canada. And we know that since coming into office, he's made clear that he believes Canada should be the 51st state of the United States. And we are seeing that he is using every lever of the power that he has at his disposal to make that happen, even if it means going so far as to make matters increasingly worse economically for Americans as well.
And Eric, Canadian negotiators say no ultimatum was presented, but it kind of sounds like one. What do you make of this?
Yeah, we know that Jamieson Greer has a very difficult job because, again, when we're talking about negotiations, there's very little impart himself in these negotiations. He is working clearly at the behest of President Donald Trump on this, and he certainly has one goal: to maximize the leverage for the president. But again, even if there is an agreement that he has, we know that Donald Trump could actually blow this up at any moment, given that what we have seen from his actions on the Gordie Howe International Bridge, as well as other trade agreements that we know that the president has announced to great fanfare, only to say that he was now changing the goalpost. That's what we have continuously seen from this president, which makes it so much more difficult for Canadian negotiators not only to get a deal, but also to see to it that the president actually sticks with it.
And you've kind of touched on this. You know, it sounds like Canadians have had enough with the Trump White House, but does that even matter in all of this, though?
It does, unfortunately. Look, today we heard from the Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who spoke today from this journalism conference that I'm at. And he said that if, in fact, Democrats take back control of both chambers of power, that they will be a viable check. And he said that right now, Americans, given the pain that they're feeling from rising inflation, from trade wars, and as well as the ongoing war in Iran, that they are certainly going to try to wrest back much of the control that the president has enjoyed since coming into power. So, overturned President Trump's tariffs at one point, saying that Congress actually did have control of that. And so I suspect that this will be a massive platform that Democrats are going to run on. And should they win in November, they will certainly, at least in their minds, think they will be a viable check to the president. Could that allow for greater stability and perhaps some levity? Again, this is Donald Trump we're talking about, so nothing is ever going to be as easy as it sounds.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your time, Eric.
Thank you.
That was CTV News political analyst Eric Ham in Atlanta, Georgia. And that brings us to our web poll this evening, and we are asking, are you optimistic Canada and the U.S. will reach a trade deal soon? Your options are simple, yes or no. To weigh in and see the latest poll results, go to ctvnewsatlantic.ca. We'll take a short break now. Stay with us.
Murphy's Logic is brought to you by Kent Building Supplies. Look what we've built together. The opinions expressed in this segment are solely those of the commentator. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of this station, CTV News, Bell Media, or its employees.
Tonight in Murphy's Logic, Steve Murphy has some reflections on two prominent Canadians we have recently lost and what lessons we can learn from how they lived and worked.
The recent passing of former Nova Scotia Premier John Ham brought a flood of well-earned remembrances of his character. Even his political adversaries were nearly unanimous in praising his civility and gentlemanly conduct, even as he pursued some measures with which they disagreed. Notably, Dr. Ham led a successful minority government with the cooperation of his principal political rival and opponent, Darrell Dexter. In paying tribute to Dr. Ham, Mr. Dexter described the warm, cordial, and respectful relationship they maintained inside and outside the political arena. Those are words heard less and less often about politics and political leaders these days: warm and cordial, respectful. Similar words have been used to characterize longtime CTV national news anchor Lloyd Robertson, who passed away last week. Like Dr. Ham, Lloyd was a gentleman who manifested the genteel qualities of a bygone era, even while maintaining a steely commitment to his values. In recent years, and amplified by social media, politics and political reporting have become increasingly and corrosively personal. For many, it's no longer enough to disagree passionately. It's necessary to call people names, to insult their character and impugn their motives. To those who will correctly point out that there have always been such voices, I will simply observe there seem to be many more of them today, and in higher and even the highest of offices. Another word used to honor both Lloyd Robertson and the late Premier Ham, and one I would like to use now, is decency. Oxford Online defines it as honest, polite behavior that follows accepted moral standards and shows respect for others. Decency. Surely that should be the rule and not the exception in politics and the media and in all of our dealings with each other. I'm Steve Murphy.
In the Lifeline tonight, researchers across Canada will work together to study the effects of cannabis on the brain with financial support from the federal government. CTV's Amanda Debison has more.
A researcher from Dalhousie University in Halifax is working with teams across the country to study how cannabis affects the brain in people of various ages. The Canadian Cannabis and Brain Health Consortium aims to establish scientific evidence about both potential benefits and harms of cannabis. That includes its effects on epilepsy, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, sleep, mental health, and brain development in youth and during pregnancy. 10 research teams will also recruit over 3,000 people of all ages and collect data about brain function, mental health, and substance use. Ottawa is spending $24 million on the consortium. The World Health Organization says the current Ebola outbreak that has killed over 2,000 people in eastern Congo is the fastest growing one yet. In an update, the agency says it's on track to surpass the deadliest outbreak in history, which erupted over a decade ago and killed over 11,000 people.
It's already the second biggest Ebola epidemic on record, and it's moving faster than any previous Ebola outbreak.
The head of the WHO told reporters the outbreak horrified the world and jolted efforts to develop a vaccine. Finally, new data is highlighting how e-scooters and e-bikes can be dangerous for children. The Canadian Pediatric Surveillance Program says 10 kids, including 6 from Ontario, died from using these e-scooters and e-bikes in 2025. 12 more were admitted to intensive care units, and 26 were treated in hospital for more than 2 days. The data released in an annual report says there's a need for better policy coordination and public education to clearly communicate the laws on e-bikes and scooters, which vary by municipality. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
With Aaron and Peter.
10 questions, 60 seconds. If you know all the answers, you're winning $1,000.
We play $1,000 Minute every weekday at 7 a.m.
On the markets, the Dow ended the day up 69 points. Meanwhile, a wild ride on Bay Street and Wall Street today, with both the TSX and S&P 500 reaching new highs. BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya has more.
The Toronto Exchange managed to close at a record high for a 5th straight trading day today. This morning, the TSX reached a new record high and then further topped that to close the day. The fresh records are being driven largely by a domestic jobs boom, soaring crude oil, and investors piling into big banks and gold. Meanwhile, the S&P clocked its own milestone, hitting an intraday high of 7,816 points. That was fueled by cooling U.S. inflation data and a second wave of adrenaline for the AI infrastructure trade. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 71.79. West Texas Intermediate finished the day lower at 81.25 a barrel. Western Canadian Select was also down to 65.54, and the TSX closing at that new record high at 36,759 points. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
Time for one final look at the forecast, and we'll go to Kaylin on the weather deck. Looks a little bit rainy out there, Kaylin.
It is. I haven't had to use the umbrella out here on the weather deck in a while, but I have it out here this evening, north end of Halifax, just on the back edge of a large area of showers, but also includes some embedded downpours and thunderstorms that is continuing to make its way east across Nova Scotia. There is a scattered mix of showers and thunderstorms for other parts of the Maritimes, of course, this evening. But most of the thunderstorms will be coming to an end as we make our way through the evening hours. Let's take a look at a viewer picture for tonight. Beautiful shot coming in from, well, beautiful economy Nova Scotia. Looking out here over the Minas Basin, sent in by Marianne Kulip. Want to thank Marianne very much. And that was taken just as the clouds started to roll in. Marianne said she could already hear some of the thunder in the distance at that point. Tomorrow for economy, a mix of sun and cloud. There will be a chance of a late afternoon, evening shower or thunderstorm, high near 20 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow around the Maritimes. First thing in the morning, highest chance of showers around the northeast New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia. In the afternoon, that part of the region will be seeing some scattered showers and a risk of some thunderstorms. Let's find out what's ahead on your Morning Atlantic.
Friday on Your Morning Atlantic, Vive l'Acadie.
We'll catch up with a popular tourist destination in New Brunswick to see how they're celebrating National Acadian Day.
Start your morning with us Friday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally for us tonight, some stunning images are among the finalists for 2026 Ocean Photographer of the Year Award. Finalists who have just been announced have captured magnificent shots of everything from fish protecting their young to human impact, good and bad. Organizers say they received thousands of extraordinary images. The competition is divided into a range of categories, including wildlife, fine art, and conservation. A new category has been introduced this year titled Ocean Unseen, Hidden Worlds, which, according to organizers, turns the lens to the ocean's smallest and least seen inhabitants. The winners in all categories will be announced next month. And that will do it for us tonight. I'll be back here at 11:30 with your next newscast. But for local news anytime, you can visit our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. It's your home for news. From all of us here tonight, thanks for watching. Have a great night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow at 6.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.